have a long history of going on the news, correct?
There was a period of time when I did talking head kind of things on news programs, yes. I haven't done it in a number of years, but for a while I did.
You would go on CNN, correct?
That was one place.
You would go on Nancy Grace, is that right?
I did. It's a little embarrassing, but I did many Nancy Grace shows.
I'm not going to comment on how embarrassing that would be for anybody or any comment about that. But you were on the show, right?
I was.
Okay. Now, you did a specific statement in, or could you turn to S229, Doctor?
Oh. Yes, thank you. I have it.
Okay. And this is a transcript of the show CNN Newsroom, is that right?
It is.
Okay, and the date is October 5th, 2007, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And some of the anchors here are Don Lemon, right?
He's one.
Okay. And you actually provided a statement in this TV show, correct?
I did.
Okay. I'm going to direct you to the page because I think it's kind of further in there. Okay. Dr. Arden, could you go to page 11 out of 15? I apologize. There may not be page numbers.
There are no page numbers, but I think I was there. I have it.
Okay. And you made a statement to CNN about the Maricopa County Medical Examiner releasing information, correct?
Yes, not the police.
I'm sorry. It was...
Excuse me.
Take a moment. Let me know when you're ready.
Thank you. I'm ready.
Okay. So you gave a statement about the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office releasing information, correct?
I made a general statement about release of information that was related to a question from the Maricopa County Medical Examiner. Yes.
And the statement you made was you really need to be particularly careful about the release of information, not to look like you're hiding something, not to give anybody the false impression or any impression that they're not getting the full story. Is that correct, Dr. Arden?
That's correct.
And you still believe that statement today, correct?
I do, especially in that context.
You believe it's important to not hide information, right?
Correct.
You believe it's important for people to get the full story, correct?
Correct.
Dr. Arden, isn't it true that you deliberately suppressed the fact that Gerhardt Konig had that tuft fracture on her thumb from your report?
No, it is not true that I deliberately suppressed that she had a tuft fracture. I mentioned a thumb injury, and as I've already explained, that was not relevant to the analysis and opinions that I was giving, excuse me, and it still is not.
Isn't it true that when you testified this morning, you testified that you would tell the whole truth?
I did.
And you said nothing in your direct testimony about this thumb fracture, correct?
Right. I also said nothing in my direct testimony about many other medical details that she had that were in those records.
One last section, Dr. Arden. I'm going to publish what's been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 236. It'll be up on the screen next to you. It's not in your binder.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Okay. You put on the screen State's Exhibit 236, Dr. Arden.
Objection, Your Honor. Can we approach?
Sure. 236. Okay. You did not review this photo as part of your preparation, correct?
Excuse me. I do not recall seeing this photo. I may or may not have, but I do not recall this photo.
And you were not asked to provide any opinions, and I want to clarify, I'm not asking you to provide any opinions, but you were not asked to provide any opinions about what you see in this photo, correct?
Correct.
The only opinions you were asked to provide were about Ariel Konig, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And I'm going to publish now State's Exhibit. State's Exhibit 25. Dr. Arden, this is a stellate laceration that we see on the screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to take the exhibit down. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Arden. I'll try to keep this relatively brief. The audit that you were asked about when you were the chief medical examiner of the Washington, D.C.'s office, that was from, was it 2002? Something like that?
2003.
2003. So 23 years ago?
Yes.
And as audits do, it pointed out some findings and made recommendations of how to improve. And in the audit, you agreed to the recommendations, right?
I agreed to many of their recommendations, and also, by the way, they're statutorily required to include my comments or responses,
Okay.
which they did, and some of them disagreed with some of the statements in the findings or made by other employees. But bottom line is, they made some findings. Clearly, the office wasn't perfect. I agreed to many of the actually almost all of the findings, and agreed that we should improve those things.
And that was 23 years ago.
Correct.
All right. Now, one second. I'm just going to kind of run through some areas here that you were asked about. You know, he asked you about testifying mostly for defense, and we talked about how, because the prosecutors have their own medical examiners and whatnot, and I think you said last month you testified for the prosecution. Just last month, right?
Correct.
You were asked about getting paid, and I think you said $700 an hour.
Yes.
Which is another reason we're going to try to keep this short right now. But and you said about 10 hours, so maybe $7,000 around there, and
Yeah, just short of that.
and then 7,000 for the day, right?
Correct.
Doctor, would you sacrifice your integrity for $14,000?
No way.
You were asked about this issue of the email to the primary care doctor and concussion. And you said that while traumatic brain injury, mild traumatic brain injury, is somewhat synonymous with concussion. You said that, right?
I did.
But let's read the whole email. 1 second. One second, I had it here somewhere. It's okay. The email mentioned asking to include concussion and traumatic brain injury in the PCP, primary care physician's report. And it said, so it's consistent with the Queen's documentation and treatment. You remember reading that?
Yes.
Do you recall, you went through the Queen's records, right?
Yes.
Do you recall seeing anywhere in those records the term traumatic brain injury?
I do not.
You were asked about the statements gave by Ms. Konig where she said up to 10 times and, things like that. The only number she mentioned was 10, correct?
Sorry. Yes, that's the only number.
Yeah, and so And there were places she said, 100% with all his might, right?
Yes, all
And-
full force.
Full force.